picture a time of solution. See the possibility.
Hi, everybody. I am Carey Davidson, author of the Five Archetypes, Ancient Technology for Problem Solving. And this is a channel about healing relationships with yourself and with others. And today we are blessed to have the most amazing human, Trish, who is a primary water. And I'm just super excited for you guys to be hanging out with water. And Trish, please share with us, what would you like to change?
Yes, hi. I think my biggest thing that I'd like to change is to be able to have more clear and detailed conversations with my husband. And that would mean instances where I'm able to express more than the high level, because that's what I tend to do and assume he's going to know all the details. So, for example, I will say, we have plans on Saturday, and assume he might know a little bit more about what we're doing because we had talked about it at a different time. And then he'll be frustrated because I didn't give him, we're going to need to be ready at this time, or go to this place, or have this ready for whatever we need to be doing.
Okay, I love this. I love that you're so detailed and give little nuggets. So tell me a little bit more about the process. So you might say, "Hey, we have plans on Saturday." At what point, like what happens then? When do you realize that he doesn't know the details, and how do you realize?
It tends to come up right before it happens, or during the day that we're getting ready to do something, where I will assume that he's fully understanding what we're doing. And then when he's not doing something, let's say having something ready, whether it's, wearing the right clothes or getting ready on time, or having something to, if we're bringing something, having that ready that he needs to do. And that comes up a lot because what I've done is, we'll say 2 weeks ago, a conversation came up that, oh, we're going to go do this with, my family, and we need to be sure to bring X. And so that day will come up and I'll remind him, oh, yeah, we have plans, but I don't circle back and fill in all the details that we talked about weeks ago.
So if you look back over the course of the parts of your life, you have memory of, I don't know how far back you go. Would you say that this is an expectation you may have had in other relationships, that you don't have to say it kind of more than once, or is this special with him?
I wouldn't say he's an exception, but it happens much more frequently, probably because we're together so much more and do so many more things together than with anybody else. And when plans come up, it's more with other people, it's more of an event where there's a direct conversation and then it's put on a calendar or whatever, and it's all the details are solidified.
Okay. And so when you finally realize that he didn't get the message,
Mhm.
then what happens in those moments?
There tends to be a lot of frustration and tension. So, luckily, neither of us really has a temper, so it doesn't lead to an argument. It leads to more of a frustration. Oh, it happened again. And I'm frustrated that he didn't know and remember, and he's frustrated that he didn't feel like he was in the loop. So,
Okay. Um, got it. So if I'm able to help you fix this today and it never happens again in the future, how do future experiences look? What's the actual, if you could tell me like, oh, it's perfect because ba 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 happens.
I think the best thing would be that we're not going into a situation or going to an event where we're a little bit frustrated with each other and we're able to be more in the moment and enjoying ourselves. So, because typically what happens is we're having that conversation right before we're going somewhere, and we don't have the opportunity to discuss it until later.
Okay, so it kind of sours the whole event.
It does sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no fun.
No.
Okay. Okay, so I'd love to give you something you can go ahead and just start using and do so that this doesn't happen anymore. Um, do
I
you
would
have
love that.
you like that?
I'd love
Okay.
that.
Um,
Cody.
yeah. So in order for me to make it really tangible and actionable, can you give me a very specific example of something that either just happened or is about to happen that we could kind of give you a packaged here, use this?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few weeks ago, we were having dinner plans at his sister's house, and we were going to be bringing some wine and a dessert. And we had talked about it with them, a few weeks before that when we had been together. And the day of the dinner, we were getting ready, and I said, "Okay, did you grab the wine?" And he was like, "What? I'm confused." I'm automatically in the moment remembering what we were to be bringing when I had brought it up that we had dinner again. And so there was some frustration. We had to run to the liquor store. We had to buy the bottle of wine, and we were about 10 minutes late. So it snowballed.
Okay. So I love this. Thank you for sharing exactly.
Exactly the details. If
It
I'm going
makes
to get this, if I'm going to work on this, it needs to be clear.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes it so easy for me. Um, which I love. Okay. So let's take a step back for a second and give everyone and you like a little bit of a background of why I'm about to share the solution and why this is the solution.
Yeah.
So for you, your elements, your constitution, your highest is water, your lowest is wood, second lowest is metal, and then fire and earth are equal kind of in the middle there.
Mhm.
And when water is your highest, you do a lot of internal processing. Water can get addicted to thinking because it's just so delicious to think. And it's less delicious to have to talk about stuff, especially like process and planning and delegating and the weeds and all that stuff. It
Mhm.
takes away from the beauty of your this highest gift of like water at its highest is pure consciousness. And when we're in a state of pure consciousness, it's almost like telepathy. Like you don't need to talk.
Mhm.
But the problem is we're on the planet with a bunch of other humans that like to talk. And and primary people who have primary water are only 5% of humans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's you might feel misunderstood or different or more or socially awkward sometimes. Why does everybody want to talk so much? What is wrong with them?
That is a little too accurate sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, your lowest is wood energy. Wood
Mhm.
is the future, planning for the future, delegating so that nothing falls through the cracks, focusing on the things that need to get done so nothing goes wrong. So it's looking ahead to the future and knowing what do we need to do to make sure the future looks bright, the future is
Mhm.
taken care of. So it's forward action thought processing. And it also corresponds to exercise. It also corresponds to facing everything and avoiding nothing, and risk taking, and momentum. People who have a lot of wood don't like to sit still. It's the part of us that, it's the firefighter that gets us out of a burning building unscathed. It's coaching energy. It's the football coach who like, hollers at you like, you can do this. You know,
Yes.
it's it's all that energy. Um, so your second lowest is metal, which is on the other side of your water, and that metal is about thinking through the precise things that you need to do in order to get it right.
Okay.
So both of those elements are easily accessible to your water because they flank you on either side. It's not like the challenger ones. So the ideas I have for you are not going to be hard to reach. So I'll make them feel easy. But since they are your two lowest, they are, and they happen to be the very things that are needed to solve this challenge. They're not your natural go-to strategies.
Mhm.
So it'll feel like, why can't I solve this? Well, because your mind has five adaptive qualities: fire, earth, metal, water, wood. They all are correlated to skills that help you deal with stress. And your mind really loves the water ones and kind of likes the earthy fire ones, but doesn't want to have to do the wood and metal ones. And so it's those two things will actually be the ones, and they're available to you just the same way you have a liver, that's your wood energy. You have lungs, that's your metal energy. Like you have this in you. It's just like learning to reach for it under stress. That makes sense?
It totally does. It's a little crazy how accurate this is right now. I'm seeing myself in a lot of your descriptions.
Okay. So then if we throw in your husband's numbers, thank you for sharing them with me
Mhm.
beforehand. So your husband has highest earth and metal and also has lowest wood.
Mhm.
And earth and metal are across the circle from wood. So that means that they butt heads a little bit. They're challenging. So not only is wood his lowest, it's also doubling down as the thing that opposes his most comfortable state. So it's also a stretch for him to do it in addition to being the lowest.
Mhm.
So both of you guys share a kind of a desire not to have to talk about who's going to take care of what.
Wow, yeah. I can mhm. That is exactly what I'm seeing happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. So water will avoid it because they feel like they shouldn't have to.
Okay.
Why should we, like, when you hear something, it lands in your whole body, your whole essence just knows. Like, it doesn't feel like it needs to be a conversation. There's a knowing. And what's funny is what we experience, we think everyone else does too.
Mhm.
But if you're the same primary element, to a big degree, yeah, you do. But if you're different, if you're opposing elements, not at all. Not at all. So what happens in your husband's experience when he hears information, if he earths it, there's they kind of feel hurt, like a little pang of hurt coming from the wood element within them, which means like feeling like delegating might feel uncomfortable to the relationship, might be too bossy or too pushy. So to avoid a conflict, they will avoid delegating and just saying what needs, executing on tasks because it
Mhm.
feels like it could potentially upset someone.
Okay.
So they will avoid wood behavior sometimes to keep the peace. So that he's not in the room, so I can just like give you like a sense of, what the elements do. I don't know if that's necessarily his thing. Does that any of this make sense?
It 100% makes sense. And I'm a little kind of dumbstruck, I guess is a way to put it, because this is so accurate. It's like, okay, when we have different types of conversations, these are exact things that we talk about without understanding that they're coming from the five archetypes or why we're feeling or approaching things this way.
Yeah. Yeah. So the cool thing when you understand it through the archetypes is that these these habits, call them, or patterns, have nothing to do with either one of you. Neither one of you is doing something wrong or bad or is distorted or unhealthy.
Mhm.
You are just believing your primary thoughts, which all humans are kind of like the work we're here to do from a five archetypes perspective is to overcome believing that our primary thoughts are true.
Mhm.
So rather than like a personality system might say, "Oh, you're this and that means you do that, so everyone better behave in a way that makes you feel happy and never uncomfortable."
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No, those are
Blech.
not comfortable.
No. So, from a five archetypes perspective, our primary is here to show us what we're at risk of believing is the whole story. And so we're at risk. So for, your husband, maybe earth thoughts are, "Ooh, I want to avoid conflict in the relationship, so I don't want to be a delegator." And so his work would be to hear that thought, recognize that it's a distortion of the earth element, and go clean out a drawer and go wipe down the kitchen counter. Go do something very specific that has a clear cut beginning and end so that he doesn't ruminate and create a story about this, but rather stops himself in his tracks of believing that, steps out of it, and gives you a hug instead and says, I'm about to not love the wood inside, my energy.
Mhm.
And I need a hug real quick. And can we talk about who's going to do what with the wine? And can we write it down and put it on the fridge and put it on my calendar so I don't forget?
Mhm.
So it becomes an opportunity for you guys to have humor around this whole, idea of, um, oh, I'm stuck because I have this pattern of, just trying to appease or please. It's not. It's every Earth person on the planet has the same thing. He's not that special, not in that way, at least.
Oh, I'll have to tell him that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just earth. And then for water, water is at risk for believing that they shouldn't have to talk about it. And so when you go into believing you shouldn't have to talk about it, that's an invitation for you to say, oh, wait, but when I share my thoughts and this conversation and problem solving with my husband, he grows from learning just by osmosis what it is like to be a water person and let go of needing to always talk things through. You know,
Mhm.
there's this beautiful thing that happens when we come together in heart-centeredness and we let go of our primary thoughts keeping us at like opinionated or perspective taking, that all
Mhm.
of a sudden the more he does have an opportunity to talk some of this through with you, the less painful it becomes to work it out himself. So a
Mhm.
few times of talking it through, he'll be like, "Oh, I've experienced how painless it is to just say, Trish, who's getting the wine? And let's put it on the calendar."
It'll help me to remember, oh yeah, I actually have to say we have to talk through these things. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can totally depersonalize it. It's like, oh, neither of us has an easy access to our wood energy. And
Mhm.
so, whenever you encounter something that needs delegation or a plan or a vision or a goal or an agenda or risk taking, decision making, any of that stuff that propels things forward, notice what's your relationship to your perception of that activity. Do you have a resistance energy? A judgment energy? Does he? So that you can actually create a new conversation where you guys can talk about like, hey, that was a wood activity. What happened for you in that moment?
Yeah.
And then it just becomes depersonalized and more humor around it. It's just a tree.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, I find this so fascinating because it's so accurate in the details that I mean, it just blows my mind. And I'm really excited now that I have his scores too to go and have the conversations and I can see what fuels some of the things he does, and he'll be able to see what fuels some of the things I do.
Yeah, yeah, I love that for you guys. I
Mhm.
so love it. And I don't know, let me know if you'd like to come back and let us know on video how it went.
Yes, I absolutely would love to. I'd love to.
Thank you.
Yes, I do have one more question. So my secondary scores are tied and his primary scores are tied. So when you have scores that are tied, how does that kind of come through? Do they kind of argue with each other, so to speak?
So I'll start with yours. So you do have your middle two scores, your fire and your earth are the same number.
Mhm.
When when our middle scores are tied, it really doesn't mean that much.
Mhm.
You know, what the numbers mean, they show the constitution, right? Your total makeup of how much you value or undervalue adaptive behaviors. So adaptive behaviors means like problem solving skills. So according to Chinese medicine, we have five problem solving categories. And
Mhm.
they're different speeds. Wood is the fastest possible, like run and get the ball down the court. Fire is a scattery energy that's about joy and connection and romance and touch. So
Mhm.
bringing people closer. Earth is the part of us that solves problems in our digestive tract, but also by talking and sharing and networking and collaborating. Metal is the part of us that solves problems by breathing and also by organizing, by creating the structure to grow within, like architecture.
Mhm.
Water is the part of us that sits back and doesn't take things personally. It's the part of us that doesn't react, that thinks and gets quiet and knows that we can't force things, but we allow them to emerge over time. It is consciousness. It at its core, it's peace. It's the thing that most people don't have a lot of these
Mhm.
days. So for you, your earth and fire are tied there in the middle. That just means that you have, that relationship to that part of you, and that both of them are equally available to you at that level, which is the relationship between your primary and them. So they're like 10 points apart
Mhm.
from your water. So it means that you will use your water to solve problems when you feel really stressed.
Mhm.
So your first line of defense for self is going to be getting quiet and introspective and going and like being alone.
That is completely accurate. Yes.
Yeah. But it also means like, your fire and earth is the part of you that's smiley and can giggle with me and can,
I'm not going to take this personal. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So you have those things, but when you're really under stress or you're really using the strongest parts of yourself, you're likely to default into the water part, which then the invitation then is to notice or to be aware of when you overuse your water, you create a ripple effect in everyone around you. People who either have lowest water or certainly don't have highest water,
Mhm.
you're creating an environment where they start to feel uncomfortable because you're stimulating an element in the ecosystem that they
Mhm.
don't have a good relationship to and they don't know what to do about it. And it just creates an internal experience of, I don't know what's happening here. So it could throw someone into a fear state, which means what they're going to do is they're going to react and double down on their primary element, which may be something that opposes yours or is one
Mhm.
of your lowest. And then we've got this interactive dynamic where we're both doubling down on the thing that's so not connected. So we become more and more lonely and disconnected and confused just because we overuse one part of ourselves to soothe.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So if I'm stressed out and dealing with somebody that's a wood, my water will slow down, their wood will speed up. So we have to find a way to meet in the middle. All right.
Yeah.
That's,
Well,
yeah.
it's even more than that. If you want to do it the most wholesome way that really takes care of yourself and them,
Mhm.
we get to the point. So Chinese medicine is more of a preventive care than
Mhm.
Western, is like, oh my gosh, I'm in crisis. What do I do?
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for you to say, oh, I have a wood primary in my life. I know that this person can get really uncomfortable when I slow down too much. How can I proactively create the conditions for both of us to succeed in our next conversation? So one way might be my wood friend needs an agenda. So I'm going to think all weekend about the beautiful agenda that I want, and then I'm going to send him 3 bullet points. And then he's going to be so soothed that on the phone when I talk slowly, he's not going to care because I already I made him feel safe.
I that is actually something very useful for me from a professional standpoint too, because I know just from what you've described that there are some people that I work with that are woods, and that's going to be something that I can put in my toolkit for future.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah. So let me answer your question about your husband being tied for his primary.
Yes.
So I do see this not like so frequently, but sometimes people will get tied on the questionnaire. We do have a tiebreaker built in, so he might have gotten like a separate email that tells like which one is true primary, but
Mhm.
still they're very, they're very close if not tied. Um, if you were to go to an acupuncturist, they would take your pulses and they to diagnose, and they would be able to tell, what elements were primary and which ones were struggling, and so how to bring them back into balance so that you felt like you have access to all five of your adaptive styles. And what might be the case with him is that, maybe he's highest earth with, metal kind of inside, or maybe he's metal with earth inside. It's like, as you go deeper into acupuncture and Chinese medicine, there are there are a lot of different expressions of these elements. And when you have two that are that close or close to tied, he's you might notice after a while like which one is true north for him because he mostly is earthy under pressure or mostly is metally under pressure, but he's gonna kind of default into both behaviors a little bit, and he will also be soothed by behaviors that soothe both of those elements. So he might
Mhm.
be just a little, he might have more of a variety of what helps him grow. But you'll notice, like, at its very, very core, one of the things to look for, if you wanted to know what's his true north, Earth primaries are more worried about not being needed by others, and metal primaries are more worried about not being seen as valuable, like knowing the right thing to do.
Mm.
So Earth is more of a love mama who like
Mhm.
wants to take care of everyone. Metal wants to do the righteous thing and be seen for and appreciated for it. So like
Okay.
metal is a ballerina, the
Yep.
perfect poise, and Earth is more of the Earth mama who like feeds everybody and wants everybody to hang out at her house. So,
He is 100% in earth.
okay. Uh,
100%.
okay, so then I will tell you if he's at water, he's the one, that energy is the one that can kind of trigger you a little bit more than the others. I'll tell you why. Yeah. Because water loves to be self-sufficient
Mhm.
and earth loves to be needed. And those two things can kind of butt heads sometimes.
Mhm.
But your way through what is going to be through metal, which is one of your lowest. So your
Mhm.
connection to him is through structure, beauty, specificity, ritual, routine. I don't know if you guys are spiritual or religious, but like a spiritual practice, things like that. That's kind of where you guys connect. That's your bridge to connection, so that your quietness doesn't make him wonder if he's a good caretaker, and his caring for you doesn't make you wonder if he realizes that you're a badass and you do it yourself.
You pretty much described our tension in our relationship. Exactly.
So, what's funny is like, I don't need to know much. Like,
No,
I just see the numbers and I'm like, oh, here's the dynamic. We should start like a dating service. You're an entrepreneur.
that would be amazing. It would, based on what I've just heard, it would probably work.
Yeah. I mean, we never, you never have to meet. Like, I could, if I just saw these numbers, I could say, here's what you're at risk of
Yeah.
believing about yourself and about the other person, and at risk of actually doing. And here's the ripple effect of if you do that.
Yeah.
And here's the fix. And here's how to prevent it. Let's do
It,
it.
it shouldn't be this easy, but it sounds so simple. And if you just put a few things into practice, I'm sure it will alleviate 90% of the tension in a relationship.
Yeah. I like that world.
I would too. I would too. So that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Oh,
Oh, well, thank you.
thank
It's
you.
amazing. Yes,
Thank
this is
you.
absolutely amazing. I'm
Mm.
excited. I'm gonna have to go back and reread a lot of portions of the book to digest a little bit more.
Mm. Well, if you have any questions, reach out, and I'd love to hear how this
Yes,
lands with your husband and what
I
what
would
happened.
absolutely love to share any updates.